Chapter 23. Jay. Jacob had looked through the spyglass from outside Ob's front door out over the ocean at the second island. He saw a line of tiny black ants converging on a section of rock where a single human struggled to hold them at bay. Now he was taking a second to think. He started pacing in the common area. He had already sent Ina to grab anything she wanted to take with her. He intended to think of a plan to leave, and they likely wouldn't be coming back. Come on, think. After a few times back and forth, he paused and stared at the huge table. At the water he had spilled that had separated into small droplets rather than be absorbed. He walked over to it and attempted to tilt up aside. It lifted easily. It was extremely light. Hobbs, can I borrow your table? Sure? Ina, we're leaving. Ina had collected the most valuable parts of her collection into Ob's leather satchel. She knew it was waterproof, and she figured he would have let her have it if she had asked. The few shiny stones, her mirror, the brown and pink shell, a sharpened piece of obsidian, and a particularly robust coral that would glow when she hummed to it. But there was so much more she couldn't bring. All the years she had painstakingly collected the items. In a way, it was a record of her life here, a library of memories. She knew she couldn't stay, knew she had to leave. She felt the loss deeply and mentally promised to return. But she couldn't shake the feeling that she never would. They arrived at the cove out of breath and drenched in sweat because they had moved as fast as they possibly could while carrying the huge table. They looked exhausted. It had been hot, muggy, and it had already been a long day. This was crunch time. The project deadline was approaching. The team was burnt out. Jacob had been here before dozens of times. He knew exactly what to do. Thank you both for helping, now and for everything else since I've arrived here. Know that I don't take it for granted. I understand that everyone is tired, but any delay increases the chance that we will arrive late. I have a plan, and if we all work hard, we can make it in time. I have seen the will and strength that lies within you, and I ask for just a bit more. I know we can do it. Maybe it was a bit too corny, but Jacob had experience in moments like this. It wasn't about what you said. It was about how you made them feel. He saw them both straighten, as though the words had flowed into their bodies to reinforce their muscles and refresh their minds. Ina, who had been looking off to the side, met his gaze and gave a firm nod. Hobbs looked at him curiously and gave a slower one. Jacob immediately started giving quick, concise orders for the plan he had developed at the cave. Okay, everyone, we need 3 things. Hobbs, you're on vine duty. There's an eater vine 200 feet that way. I think Ina killed it. I need you to go there and bring back all the vines for lashings. Ina, I need you to work on a sail. We don't have any more large blankets, so go through the luggage and tie clothes together as tight as you can, as square as you can. I'm going to gather all the wood. Try to be quick. I want to start on assembly in 20 minutes. Everyone split off. Jacob got out the tide sword and went straight for the bamboo plants. While pacing, he had guessed that part of the problem with the balsa-type wood he had used for the first raft is that it lost buoyancy when it became saturated with water. The bamboo plants would have to be bundled, but if Hobbs was able to bring back enough vines, it shouldn't be an issue. 20 minutes later, Ina had completed a makeshift sail that was just a collage of all sorts of clothing. She helped Hobbs ferry back the last of the vines. Jacob had cut a ton of bamboo into lengths ready for bundling and had started partitioning the vines. Okay, let's flip the table and get it in the water. We'll use the legs as an anchor or as anchor points for the vines. You two start tying off bundles of bamboo, say 10 segments per bundle. I'll try to figure out how to rig a sail. 10 minutes, everyone. Jacob got out one of the inner pieces of balsa that was long enough to connect two of the table legs diagonally. He cut a circle out of each end so the legs could be nested through. It worked out well because the legs tapered already, causing the wood to rest securely with part of the leg poking through at each end. He then cut out a rough circle from the very center of the piece of balsa so a mast could be inserted. He then bundled two poles of especially long bamboo and tied the top of Ina's makeshift sail to the top of both poles. He tied the bottom of her sail 2/3 down each pole. One of the poles he placed in the mast hole he had just made. When the pole slid through and eventually hit the floor of the raft, it left the sail just above the hole. Perfect. The other pole would just have to be held by someone and could be moved to ensure the proper angle of the sail, or brought in close to the mast, essentially taking down the sail. Hobbs and Ina had finished most of the bundles, and he started showing them how to secure them to hang from the four sides of the raft, secured by vines to the table legs. The last bundle on each side, he had them incorporate the flotational seat cushions from the plane for stability. He also orchestrated one long chain of bundles to pass underneath the table completely, effectively making the table the top layer of the raft. As Obbs and Jacob worked on attaching the last bundles of bamboo, Ina started loading the raft. It already seemed far sturdier than the previous iteration. Now all it needs is a name, said Obbs. I know. Jacob didn't want to cut into the enchanted table, so he attached a thin piece of wood between two adjacent table legs and started etching into it. Finished, he took a step back. Obbs chuckled. The last chance? Hey, I couldn't think of anything better. It'll do for now. Jacob held out the tide sword. Here. Obbs shook his head. Keep it. I don't need it. Just remember, those are sacred to the Naga. I made sure they know that one belongs to you, but that doesn't mean it won't cause you trouble. Then Obbs looked around and handed him something dense wrapped in cloth. Jacob unwrapped it and saw it was some kind of egg-shaped stone. It glowed faintly with dark green, almost black light. It was glassy and semi-translucent. The interior seemed to swirl with thick, dark green and black, milky, fluorescent liquid. It was warm. This is a tide stone, Jacob. Obbs looked at him as serious as Jacob had ever seen him. This is why the humans of this world hunt the Coriacea. They are powerful, long-lasting sources of energy. This one is worth a small fortune. Keep it hidden until you reach the trade post, then show it to the highest-ranking member of the Salt Winds Trade Company you can find. The Naga will kill you if they see you with this. Here's the map. Read my answers on the back when you get the chance. Do not stop at the tidal womb. The Naga will not allow you in their sacred areas no matter our deal. Regardless, some may attack you anyways, so be wary. Obbs then nodded at Jacob, and Jacob extended his hand. Obbs looked at it, perplexed. You grasp it with yours, and then we shake. It's a tradition from my world. Obbs extended his hand and grasped. Jacob was surprised by how cold his hand was. Obbs just gave his toothy smile, and they shook. And then Jacob was climbing aboard the raft. That left Ina. She had reverted to her natural form and stood there as though unsure of what to do. Lina Ura, were I not bound to this island, I would carry you to the towers of Kadamir myself. He brought out a tiny chain that was transparent and seemingly made out of glass links. Suspended between two of the links was a tiny droplet-shaped glass figure. It didn't glow or appear particularly valuable. This contains concentrated life energy that I have siphoned off of you in tiny amounts for the last 14 years. A skilled enough flesh mage could use this to perform the augments that you seek. You must destroy the container after it has been used. If any mage attempts to take it, they must be killed. If knowledge of this spreads, all associated will be hunted down and destroyed. Understand? Ina nodded. Hobbs took the necklace and put it around her neck. Then his hand glowed and the chains melded together with no seam. Thank you for everything, Ina said, and embraced him for a few long seconds. Hobbs was momentarily taken aback. They had never broken the physical barrier before. When she released, she blinked 2 tears off of her eyelashes. One day, I hope to meet the person you will become. You're always welcome here, Hobbs spoke in an uncharacteristically sincere manner. Ina turned and waded out to the raft and went to pull herself up, but Jacob blocked her. You need to ask permission to board, he said with mock seriousness. Permission? Get out of my way, human. Ina tried to force her way on, but couldn't get a good grip. Nope. It's a thing from my world, a tradition. Ina stood there and crossed her arms. Come on, please? Fine. Permission to come aboard? Jacob gave a mock serious nod. Permission granted, and he extended a hand, which she took, and he yoinked her up out of the water onto the raft. Welcome aboard, First Mate Ina. Rescue operation. Commence. Words suddenly appeared in his mind. Survivor 3. Project Manager 1. Shipwright 2. Converted 2. Captain level 6. Class Captain obtained. Ship The Last Chance. Hobbs stood on the shore and watched them float out of the cove. Something strange was happening. Moisture had built in the corner of one of his eyes. It was so alien to him that he was surprised when he blinked and it trickled down his face. His people viewed relationships as dangerous distractions. Emotions had led some off the path. The path was coming to an end soon, and all the sacrifices would be justified. He decided it had been a good thing at the end to remember